Coaching helps you understand how to do the lift better. You will see your partner making mistakes. What about his shoulder position? Number one, what about his crappy head position?
Yeah.
Too much, too much, too much?
Too much sleep.
Bend over at the hips instead of you're doing a squat.
Yeah. So think about your hip, guys, being a pendulum. And the pendulum, if I'm facing any direction, the pendulum is going behind me. I want to launch my hip behind me. Part of what we're trying to build is the stretch reflex from the proximal end of that hammy that get us out of the hole in the bottom of that squat, or to drive the kettlebell swing. Okay? When we get into the low bar back squat, this is going to be the beginning of the movement. We're including a lot more hips and hamstring into our lifts. If we include more muscle tissue, what does that mean we can then do? Can we add or decrease weight? All your movement, everything starts in the hips and hips only, guys. The shoulder and knee stay in place. I'm an accordion. The only thing that's got to move is the middle. My shoulder and knee are still in alignment. What shape am I making? If you look at me from the side, what shape is this? If my shoulder's here and I draw a line here and my hip is there, what shape is that?
Triangle.
Triangle. What's the strongest shape in the universe, at least my universe?
Triangle.
Holy hell, is it starting to make sense? Thing called biomechanics, right? What if my movement starts in the chest and I come forward? Now I'm a rectangle, right? How strong am I now?
I see the triangle.
Correct. What if I start here?
Head's staying out.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? All start in the hips. You guys go ahead and switch.
It's moving that.
Is it fixed or is it moving?
It's moving.
Your eyes are moving. Why? Because your spine, at full extension, my spine is vertical. When I fully flex, my spine is horizontal. I'm 90 degrees to the floor. I'm looking at the floor. Then I'm looking up. This will happen also in our kettlebell swing. We're not going to go into it because we've got a lot to do, but at the bottom of your your Romanian deadlift is your bent row. Okay? The bent row, I think, is probably the hardest exercise to teach because we don't get to the bottom position correctly. If you can get there, and Jacob's doing a great job, so do it again, Jacob. So he's going to go with, that's an RDL. Now pull the bar up into your belly. Bent row. He could get a little bit more knee bend. That's the only difference. He's got a little bit deeper bend. But where is the weight on Jacob? Where's the center of mass? It's got to always be over the center of the foot. But how is he able to hold the center of mass over his foot? He's countering it with two things. This part of his torso and this part. So as I move towards the floor, I have to ensure that I'm anchoring the center of mass by sticking my ass out as far as I possibly can. So the weight, the majority of the center of mass and weight, is behind me. If it is in front of you, you will crush your lower back, you will go immediately kyphotic, and then drop the bar. That's why the bent row is so hard. If you can do it, one of the greatest exercises ever. Okay? So it's a Romanian deadlift setup, a little bit deeper knee bend, but the great thing is, if you do it well, it really teaches you how to drive at the hip. Have you guys all done all three?
Yes.
This will be really interesting. It's kind of an experiment for me because, like I say, usually I start at the ultimate progression, which is a squat. And then work my way into the regressed movement, which is a hip hinge. The hip hinge is your Romanian deadlift, your bent row, your kettlebell swing. Okay? So, I want you guys, has everybody done a kettlebell swing?
I've never done it in my life. Ever.
Oh,
Not even
perfect.
once.
And let's start by getting rid of that thing. Now, I'll bring you one.
I told you I've never done it.
I'm fixing it. I got it. Here you go. What is that thing?
That was the last
What is all this? What is all this? You get this one. Here. You get that one. You'll be fine. All right. So, Most swings I see people doing are squats. We want to get into the posterior chain, guys. I think one of the faults of weight training is, especially us guys, we tend to train and pay attention to what we see in the mirror, right? We tend to train the interior muscles. When I was talking earlier about length tension relationships, right? That's interior, posterior, right and left, internal, external. All these things need to add up and be equal. The posterior chain has got to be strong. It doesn't have to be stronger than the interior, quadricep, abdominals, chest, but it has to be equal to. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We are really hammering the posterior chain with all the exercises we're talking about today. All right? Back, glutes, hamstrings. All right? So, when we do this kettlebell swing, we want to ensure that we're really addressing the posterior chain. Grab your belt and stand up. Okay? So grab it with both hands, hang it down the center line. Set up your squat stance, okay? And that means basically the heels are probably right underneath the shoulders. Depending on the squat, the foot position will change. So, set up a hip hinge. So drop into your hip hinge. All right? From here, bring your hips right back into the bell and start creating a pendulum. As you increase the repetition, begin to increase your range of motion, moving parallel, nipples facing the floor and the hip, driving right back in. We're hip hinging. Good. Now absorb it. Swing it into the legs. Don't try to control it as it's coming up. Do 5 more reps and stop, and then I'll show you a little demo, and it'll help. Now I'm already seeing everybody going back to looking up. As your spinal position changes, so do your eyes. Okay? So, let me give you a little demo. This will help. Alright, so I'm going to set this guy up. I'm going to set up a hip hinge. Hips go back. My hips immediately and violently come into the bell. As my reps increase, so does the momentum. Okay, so this is a ballistic movement. I'm training it as a ballistic movement. Look how far it swings through. Okay, so now I'm building to about a parallel horizontal position, nipples facing the ground, and I'm driving my hip as far back as I can, and then sending it forward again. So now do it, put a little violence into it, put a little power into it. Remember your eye position. Swing that belt through, let it go. Yes, the hip is driving the bell. The hip is driving the bell. The shoulders are passive. For those of you who haven't done it, keep the belt at forehead level. Do not go higher. Find the proximal end of that hamstring. So you're going here now. You're going back to that. That's it. Further. Now drive it in. To not be too vulgar, you're making sweet love to that kettlebell. Okay. Alright, so we're going to get into the nitty gritty here, guys. Hopefully we'll have enough time. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing that we're going to do is get that on. Second thing, we're going to go into deadlifts. Okay? We're going to do 2 variations, and we're going to do them a little bit quickly. Okay? The first one we're going to do is called a sumo deadlift. The reason I like to teach it is, I would argue it's the most functional lift you can learn how to do. Why? Something's heavy on the ground and I need to pick it up. What is every human being hopefully going to do when they begin to pick that bell right there? I'm going to pick it up. What's the first thing I'm going to do?
Organize.
I'm going to address it. No, I don't know that. I'm just a human. I haven't lifted weights. I haven't been to this seminar.
Oh.
Okay? I'm going to address it. I'm going to walk up to it. If I'm going to lift it, do I do it from over here?
Get close.
right? I'm going to walk up to it and address it. Would I like to pick it up with my feet as close as possible? I want to increase my base of support, right? Open it up a little bit. Why?
Triangle.
Biomechanics. At the bottom of it, what shape will I probably be making?
Triangle.
A triangle, okay? So without knowing how to do it, how do you think I would begin to get down to the floor? And this is a problem with our culture is because we don't shit or eat on the floor anymore. And both don't happen at the same time. All right? We have lost capacity for understanding the sequence of movement of how our body moves. If I'm going to sit down, just stand there for a second, imagine a bench behind you, and sit back towards it. What's the first thing that moves? Holy shit, you just did a hip hinge. I don't sit down like this. Some people might.
I do.
Wendy does. I sit back. I move my hips back. So I've increased my base of support. I do a hip hinge. I grab the thing, keeping it as close to my body as possible. Would I pick it up that way? As far away from me? Why? Am I stronger out here or weaker? If I gave you two dumbbells and said run down the road, would you put them out here? Or put them right here underneath your axial load? I would address it, I would walk up to it, put the center of mass underneath me, bend down using my hip first, keep it close to my body, and stand up with the object. I just did a sumo deadlift. All right? So here's how we're going to address it. You're going to walk up to the bar. For conversation, this is smooth, this is gnarling. The intersection is called where smooth meets gnarling. Okay? The rings on here will change given the bar. These are pretty standard bars, but the rings will change depending on the kind of bar. Deadlift bar, squat bar, Olympic lifting bar. Okay? For us, they're pretty much standard. So I'm going to walk up to this bar and get my shins pretty dang close to it. Now, depending on what I'm doing, I might get all the way up on it. For you guys, I want you to stay about a ½ inch to an inch away so you don't tear all the hair out of your legs. Even ladies, you will do it. All right? I'm going to set up a pretty wide squat stance. My toes are pointed out. When I point my toes out, what do you suppose happens back in here? Just do it. Turn your toes in and feel what happens. Okay? Are you activating your glutes? Turn them out just a little bit and see what happens, and then go into full flexion, extension like you were at the kettlebell swing. See how you're able to activate your glutes here? Okay? So first thing I'm going to do, walk up to the bar. I'm going to get organized top down. Head position, big deep breath, tight abs, hip hinge. I'm going to come down to the bar. For me, I'm going to go over, under, and I'm going to put my index finger on the smooth gnarling, my pinky on the other smooth gnarling. Okay? Now, before I go, I'm going to go bottom up, organized once again. Torque, pull. Can you guys tell how much tension I just put on my proximal end of my hamstring?
Yeah.
I was here. I'm pulling myself into position. I'm not trying to look up. My head is natural. And from here, my thought is to bring my hip into the bar and finish. When I go back down, guess what starts the motion? Look at the bar path. Is it moving? Or is it straight up and down? Every time you go, I'm getting reorganized and staying that way. Sound fun? Jump on a bar. Straight up. Drive your hip into the bar. But it's as good as it gets. When you organize top down and then bottom up,
You're breaking the C or C spine. Okay.
9 times out of 10, you're going to be in a perfect deadlift position. Build tension on the bar before you pull it up. Before the bar leaves the floor, everything is organized. You put tension on it, you load the sumo deadlift. You're going to walk up to the bar. Now, first mistake that gets made, right, is that as you guys are going down, you're not flexing at the hip. You're flexing at the knee. What's the bar doing? Okay? So now when I bend over to get it, where's the center of mass?
It's out.
It's right here.
Yeah.
I'm doing a bent row, and a really shitty one. Okay? The bar cannot move. It cannot move. So when you walk up to it and address it, this is a perfect time to come back to the beginning. Organize, and this is a word I left out. The last piece of this is called brace. We are leading to a brace. So now I'm going to organize. I got tight abdominals. If I had a belt on, I'd be feeling it already. Hip hinge. I'm dropping down to the floor. I get my grip. I reorganize. I'm screwing my feet into the floor. I'm driving my hips back. I move my mind into the abs. Or once I learn how to control and manipulate my breath, I shove it into the diaphragm. I'm expanding out into the belt and drawing my ribs down and holding the whole time till I release the weight. This will add up and mean a lot when we start squatting. Make sense?